Good evening and welcome back to 31 Horror Nights. It's October 25th and tonight's movie is When Evil Lurks. This is a Spanish language supernatural horror movie from 2023 and it was a co-production between the US and Argentina. This movie concerns two men who I either live in or go to this remote village that has a man who is infected by demons. Not possessed, they use the word infected in the description. And I didn't get a good look at it, but we did see brief glimpses of this character. And if you've ever played Hollow Knight and gone to the Hive, the B area, there are these enemies that look like bloated corpses. And when you hit them, like a bunch of bees fly out. It sort of looked like that. There's also a bit in the trailer that definitely concerned one goat in particular. I don't know if this goat is going to play a big role in this movie, but if it does, I doubt he's going to be nearly as charming as Black Phillip from The Witch. This is a movie that I was able to just hear about organically because apparently it's really, really good. The trailer, however, is very, very vague, which I've said this before. I will take over a trailer that gives away too much, but that also means I don't really have much to go off of before watching the movie. There's nothing really else I have to say, so let me go give it a watch. This movie was really not what I was expecting. I thought it was going to be a very contained story about like a demonic infestation in like a small rural village, but it's actually more akin to like a zombie outbreak movie like Night of the Living Dead or 28 Days Later mixed with Wreck. That series was notable for sort of having demonic possession be like a physical disease that you can like spread to others and catch. It certainly knows how to do world building and has really good horror, but I felt like the ending was kind of underwhelming. I'm going to give When Evil Lurks a 7 out of 10 because I can see the vision here. I just didn't think it was executed as well as it could have been. And even though Martyrs is probably the most disturbing movie I've ever seen, and I saw that this month, just from a base gut reaction, some of the effects in this movie are way grosser. One interesting thing about this movie is that the idea of demonic possessions and like becoming in the form of infected people is not seen as like a new concept in this movie. Clearly, at some point, well before this movie started, there had been examples in real life of people getting infected by demons and basically uprooting entire towns. And one of the more disturbing things about the demonic forces in this movie is how easily the infection is spread. I remember in 28 Days Later, I think it was like one single drop of infected blood got in a guy's eye and he was completely gone within 30 seconds. In this movie, it's very, very potent. The main character of this movie, Pedro, he handled that infected, bloated corpse of a living human and he like took off all of his clothes to like get a new set of clothes and like burn the old ones, but a dog just like sniffed those clothes, and a few minutes later, it was eating children. There was something about that scene I didn't really think made a lot of sense, is because there were three adults, like one room over, who were having an argument, and somehow they couldn't hear this dog like growling and barking and snarling, and two kids screaming for help. This is one of those horror movies that's like very grim and very bleak. There are no moments of levity in this film. It's just like sad and dark the entire time. And much like 28 Days Later, the Of the Dead series, it's not about winning, it's about surviving. My only real problem with the movie is the ending, and I'm not going to be able to go into that without getting into spoilers, so I'm going to start the spoiler section of the review now. It's funny when you compare this movie to the Of the Dead movies. One of the things in that series was the only way to stop a zombie is to shoot it in the head. But in this movie, you're not supposed to fire guns at them because that would just spread the infection further. When the two main characters are able to escape the town with what little family they still have, they go to one of the other main character, Jimmy, his friend's house or acquaintance or something, some older woman, and she definitely knows a lot about the forces of evil. She said that she used to work for a church before they say faith died or faith collapsed. I guess that the Catholic Church, at the very least, sort of dissolved as like a recognized entity. Anyway, she had this weird old time steampunk gobbledygook that looked like a clock meets a gyroscope or something. Whatever it was supposed to be able to expel the demon from the bodies of people. So they had to go to the place where they dumped the body because they thought if they just dumped the body away from town, they wouldn't have to deal with it. And they pick up the trail which leads them to a elementary school, and they find that there are a bunch of children like clearly under some sort of otherworldly influence who are just sort of sitting there and being vague and creepy. And they go to the auditorium of the school and they pull up the floorboards and they see about half a dozen of dead bodies of the adults, including the bloated dead body that they were looking for. The older former church member lady, her name is Mirta, she tells Pedro multiple times to not listen to what the kids are saying because the kids are trying to lead them astray. And she says that while she's setting up her equipment, that she needs to expose the nape of the neck of the corpse body. I don't know. They don't really go into detail about that. And he can't lift it because it's too heavy. And then one of the little kids says, hey, there's an axe in that office over there. And then Mirta's like, don't listen to that. And then he goes into the office and they lock him in and then they just kill Mirta and then walk away. So that was very anticlimactic to me. And I didn't know what they meant when they say, like, give birth to evil or something like that. But we find out when the body like splits open and this blood covered, not a baby, it looks more like a small child, like crawls out covered in blood and just sort of like leaves the building. It doesn't even kill Pedro, it just sort of touches him and then leaves. And then it shows a stray dog walking up and licking the child's hands. So clearly that's going to accelerate the spread. And I was kind of expecting the movie to just end there because mission failed, you lost. There's not really any hope anymore, but it keeps going for a while. And all it really does for like the remaining 10 minutes or so is just say, hey, remember that thing that happened in the movie? It came back and it turns out things were way worse than they originally thought. So it's a downer ending that lingers just to become more of a downer ending. And that was kind of disappointing to me because the movie had a lot of momentum and then it just sort of petered out. If they wanted to have like an ultimately sad ending, they could have made that feel a lot less, I don't know, like the movie was just sort of sputtering to a halt. It was almost like they were trying to set up for a sequel while also trying to create a story where a sequel just kind of feels pointless. Overall, the ending just felt kind of disappointing. Still, I can see a lot of good things in this movie, and it really did feel like there was something like really epic and important happening. But again, the ending dampened that a lot for me. I didn't think this movie was bad. I just think that if you want to see the same sort of idea executed in my opinion, a much better way, check out Wreck from 2007. Okay, thank you for listening. I'll see you tomorrow.